the Democrats in the House are saying we should have a uniform set of rules, that we need to have full transparency of public officials. And that's why we're doing all of this microscopic, macroscopic inquiry into private citizens' records. And that's why we're prying into private citizens' records from time periods that the president himself was a private citizen. Okay, fine. Let's have Pelosi do the same. Let's have every Democratic congressman do the same. Let's have every Democratic senator do the same. Let's have every Democratic candidate for the presidency, including Senator Joe Biden and his family members, Hunter Biden, do the same.
Ladies and gentlemen, Robert Barnes, constitutional lawyer, civil rights lawyer with one of the most successful records in the country, joins us. And we've been talking about the incredible usurpation of power, the legislative under the Democrats in the House becoming a government unto themselves. They already tried to put Mueller up there as this god. That failed. That whole operation was a crime. It's now come out. Now they're going even further. So what does President Trump need to do? Recapping some of what you already said, himself in the way he handles this, but also what do we do? What should the executive do proactively, not just in how we ourselves respond to being accused of being criminals, by this Inquisition, but how does the president go on the offense against this with all the crimes they've already committed? Because it's clear they're not suing for peace when they've been caught committing all these crimes. They're going for broke. So recap what you said. Very powerful, very historical, that this is cancer. The Democrats can't pass their gun confiscation. They can't pass their open borders. They're just doing it by fiat. And so at every level, it's just a total power grab. Break that down for us.
Sure. So the president needs to assert that this is one of the most dangerous and precarious threats to individual privacy in the history of this country. And while it is about him personally, the reality is the precedent that can be set by this case will endanger the privacy rights of every ordinary American, will make Congress a third party of the surveillance state, and allow any politician to become a peeping Tom politician and to spy on any citizen anywhere in the country that they happen to disagree with, using their congressional powers to do so, powers that the Constitution explicitly and expressly denied Congress in the first place. Secondly, the president needs to use the power of his public platform to basically to both educate and inform and to motivate the American public to recognize how consequential this issue is. Judges and courts and everybody else pays attention to what's happening in the court of public opinion, and it is critically essential, as important it is to the courts of law, that the public opinion rally behind the president to recognize that whatever anyone even thinks of the president, this is the kind of invasion of privacy that is both unprecedented and unparalleled, and that cannot be permitted to take place in the United States if we are to have constitutional rights and liberties against the power of an invasive Congress. Third, the actions that need to be taken by the executive branch writ large is to continue to fight this fight in the courts, but also to examine opportunities it can have to put these politicians on the other side of the aisle. So, let's have, if it's going to be open season, then parts of the executive branch can examine whether or not they can do investigations into the Clinton Foundation, whether that should be reopened, whether they can do an investigation into the Biden corruption. And both parties and both sides can play at this. And the executive branch is the only one that has the constitutional authority to actually do so. So I think that the courts need to be put into the position where they recognize the errors of their ways, where they recognize this will not be applied just in a one-way fashion to favor just one side. And if they recognize that, hopefully they will then realize that they need to reassert the original constitutional rights and liberties that were always present, and that this is the rights that were founded from the beginning of the country. Ordinary citizens do not get to have their personal thoughts, personal ideas, and personal records ransacked by prying, peeping Tom politicians.
I want you to elaborate on that, but just at an instinctive level as an American, as just a father, as a businessman, as a journalist, they've committed all these crimes, illegal spying, all of it, they've been caught. And then now they don't get in trouble and they start 20-something new investigations and are going to subpoena thousands of people and hundreds of Trump's companies to obviously harass the living hell out of him. What if Trump, because they say Trump doesn't even have the power to order the FBI to investigate people when he obviously does constitutionally. Imagine if he says, fine, I want 40 years of Pelosi and her whole mafia family. I want 40 years of, of all these other crazy people, like Maxine Waters and her husband getting tens of millions to his own private bank directly from her. Or if Trump says, okay, we're going to subpoena 30 years or 40 years of Obama's records, they would crap their pants, flip out, and run into the shadows. But instead, Trump is surrounded by all these lawyers and these FBI leaders that I think are working for the other side, and they just tell him to sit there like a sitting duck and take this crap. He has the constitutional authority to light their ass up. And so I say, let's go after Pelosi and Hillary and Obama and do exactly what they're doing to Trump. They'll put their tail between their legs and leave immediately and let America be great again. Why in the hell, then, is that not happening?
Exactly. For example, the president could do that publicly, independent of the executive power that he has.
He comes out and says what we just said. He said it's common sense. They just did it to me, and it's not even their jurisdiction. It's my jurisdiction, and now I'm coming for you. They have opened the frickin' door.
Oh, precisely. And what he could do is he could make an offer of settlement, that he will drop all challenges and contests to any subpoena that the Democratic Congress is issuing in exchange for all of the exact same records that they are subpoenaing from him of the same category and kind be disclosed by every Democratic member of Congress, by Congressman Amash up in Michigan, who wants to talk about impeachment. They can look at his Chinese financial ties, and by the last two Democratic presidents. Both President Obama, all of his sealed records that are still sealed, all get publicly disclosed, and President Clinton, including the Clinton Foundation, and every Democratic candidate for president. The state of California is trying to condition ballot access on various things they can't do constitutionally. Well, fine. Let's have everybody abide by the same standards. The Democrats in the House are saying we should have a uniform set of rules, that we need to have full transparency of public officials. And that's why we're doing all of this microscopic, macroscopic inquiry into private citizens' records. And that's why we're prying into private citizens' records from time periods that the president himself was a private citizen. Okay, fine. Let's have Pelosi do the same. Let's have every Democratic congressman do the same. Let's have every Democratic senator do the same. Let's have every Democratic candidate for the presidency, including Senator Joe Biden and his family members, Hunter Biden, do the same. And he should publicly offer that. And then the utility of it is, if they were sincere, if they were correct, they would take them up. But everybody knows there's zero chance they will do that. And consequently, it will expose them for the hypocrisy and the duplicity with which they are operating. It suggests that they are the ones that are operating in secret, hiding information. I mean, the President Trump is one of the only politicians in recent American history to get poorer by going into public office. All of these other politicians.
LBJ went from like $1 million to like $2 billion or something. Exactly. And it's insane. And he waived executive privilege on millions of emails, and no one ever did that.
Oh, precisely. Well, I mean, as you've experienced, Alex, the parties, that when you voluntarily provide information, when you willingly provide information, when you help facilitate the providing of information, all you do is get attacked for it. I mean, the idea that Nancy Pelosi could be out yesterday talking about a cover-up when this has been the most transparent presidency in response to an illicit, unauthorized, unjust witch hunt in American political history is just absurd. But he can expose all of it. He can say, look, you guys claim that you want transparency for all public officials from their prior private conduct and anybody connected to them. I'll do that if you do that. You have all the Democratic
and it would be game over right then.
Precisely. None of them can do it. I mean, Joe Biden's family has gotten rich while he's in office. How did that happen? Nancy Pelosi got rich while she was in office. How did that happen? Dianne Feinstein got rich while she was in office. How did that happen? Kamala Harris got sweetheart book deals. How did that happen? Go through every Democratic politician who is President Obama hid all his college education.
And that goes back to the fact, we're going to break here, that they're the oldest party in the country. They've been getting away with everything forever. They're the one-party system in this country. The Republicans have just been these bitch-slapped little minions. And here comes this wild card Trump, and they don't know what to do. And you're absolutely right. They have opened the door for all of this. I want to shift gears into other issues. Avenatti indicted again, as you predicted here on air a month or so ago. Where that's going. We're going to look at the big elections in Europe. We're going to look at the situation with the parliament and the courts in Canada coming after me. My friends, we are living in epic times. These are not boring times. constitutional lawyer, successful national lawyer, civil rights lawyer, Bob Barnes is going to ride shotgun with us 15 minutes the next hour. Then Millie Weaver, our reporter, is going to be in studio with more breaking news. I've covered a lot of news so far, but I've got to tell you, I haven't covered 10%. That's why you've got to go to newswars.com. You've got to go to INFOWARS.com. The globalists, the corporate media, the anti-free speech wolves are working around the clock to try to shut us down because our information is powerful. I mean, what you just heard Robert Barnes talk about is bedrock Constitution, Supreme Court rulings. That's why they can't have us on air, is because we're covering facts here. And we have the fathers in studio whose wives take their daughters in Texas and in Canada and in England. We've had them on. And then their daughters, their sons get chemically or physically castrated. And they have no say because the state tricked them to do it. Well, now I've got the courts in Canada threatening me to not talk about it because there's these gag orders everywhere. And they don't talk about kids being sterilized. I mean, this is crazy. Canadian court tries to stop Alex Jones from covering trans child case. Everybody says, hey, why didn't somebody stand up? Why didn't somebody fight? Why didn't somebody stand up? Well, you go show an abortion clinic, keeping babies alive and selling their organs, you get indicted. You don't get a Nobel Prize. You expose kids being chemically sterilized, you get courts threatening to arrest you. And listen, I'm willing to get arrested, but I'm just saying, you folks, you get, like, we're fighting, right? Like we're not just up here shooting our mouths off. I mean, we're under total attack because we stand up for children and everybody else, and not because we're heroes. My instinct is to stand up for kids. That's just a default. If I walk out in a parking lot and some guy's beating up a kid or a woman for no reason, I'm going to tell them to stop, and if they don't stop, I'm going to stomp their head in the ground or die trying. It's not because I'm Mr. Badass. My cells are all aligned towards doing the right thing. And you know what? Evil has never beaten me yet because you've always backed me. And I'll never give up, and I'll never give in, but I might give out, folks, like an old horse. And, you know, that'd probably be a gift when that actually happens. But I want to run this course as hard as I can for you and for myself and my family. And it's personal for me, and they've done a lot of stuff to me, and that makes this actually a sweet fight. But literally, I need oxygen in my lungs. I need wind in my sails. I need, like the Bible says, out of God's nostrils, he created the earth. That, well, you are little g. You're in the image of God. Your breath, your financial support is your will, your work, your strength is what is in my sails. It's like the old parables of the Greek gods that people forgot them, they died. Well, it's stories, folks. If we forget America, if we forget free market, we forget real liberalism, not the fake modern liberalism, but real freedom, it'll die. But if we remember it, our story's better than their story. Like the last Game of Thrones episode. There was so much hype. I watched the last season. It was pretty powerful. And they're talking about having a new king instead of a new war. And they say, people don't do all this for gold. They'll do it for flags. They do it for stories. And we've got the better story that delivers. But this isn't like Netflix where you turn it on and Hollywood's funding it. This is the embattled operation. This is an operation where I wish back in the heyday I could snap my fingers and bring in millions of dollars. But I was like, oh, I have enough. So I didn't try to hoard piles of money. I should have, like a big fat dragon. I didn't. Now we need the funds. We have big specials, Memorial Day specials that are running. 60% off Extendawise for your heart and cardiovascular, Myco ZX to knock out the candida mold and stuff in your guts. It's amazing. 60% off. Bodies, Ultimate Turmeric Formula, 95% humanoid. Nobody else has that. It is the best. Learn about how great it is. 50% off. A bunch of other specials. A lot of new products. InfoWarsStore.com. And I'm not going to belabor this. It's just, if you believe in this fight, you want to take the globalist on, this is the tip of the spear. And we're going to go down swinging regardless. I want to thank all the folks that have supported us, but don't let them extinguish this flame. Get products you need. Coffee, toothpaste, all of the highest quality. The new 8-pack Power Stack, the bone broth. Just get the products with the hundreds of thousands of votes and 5 stars on third-party sites and air filtration and water filtration. It's all there. And know that we appreciate you and we thank you. Shop with us. economically support us, and we commit to you we won't stop until we either win or I give out. And I've already tried to set it up where even if that happens, we're going to keep going. All right, going back to Robert Barnes here. We've talked a lot about Trump and the incredible tyranny we're seeing. And since I have more time with you, another 15 minutes the next hour, let's spend this time finishing up with Trump. What do you think the psychology is that we've got all the cards as nationalists? The globalists have been caught in all this fraud, all this illegal spying. They've launched 20-plus new investigations. And then I guess Trump still doesn't have control of the executive. He can't get the FBI and others to attack when it's clear and present and ridiculous for the law and our own self-interest that he should do this. I mean, what the hell? How much will we put up with?
I mean, no doubt. I mean, the extraordinary factor is if anyone doubted the existence of a deep state, which was originated in the construct by a writer for The Economist back at the end of the 19th century to describe the dual state, which was how could you have part of the government continue to function and operate as if elections don't exist? And he was just describing that phenomenon as there's this new administrative state that basically replaces the elected portion of government. This became further developed by people studying fascism, particularly German refugee professors in the 1940s. And then that evolved mostly by the left in the 60s and 70s into the term deep state to describe the rise of intelligence operations and high-ranking law enforcement and executive branch government components of the United States and foreign governments, explaining how they could be completely immune from public elections. Well, the Trump's election proves that without any question or beyond any doubt, because here you have the president of the United States not even in control of his own FBI, not even in control of his own Department of Justice in large parts of it, not even control over the CIA, not even control over large parts of the intelligence infrastructure of the counterintelligence operations at the FBI and the CIA. So it's frightening and terrifying the degree and the scope to which the president's election and his lack of power over his own executive branch. And now he's facing a position where Congress is pretending to be the executive branch and pretending to be the judicial branch, but doing it with the co-option of the judicial branch on behalf of the Democratic members of House who have Obama's view of their own power. Just as Obama thought of himself as not only president, but also Congress and also the judicial branch whenever and wherever he could. The first president to launch a massive spying campaign against his competitor to his preferred candidate in an election season. The biggest surveillance spying scandal in history was under President Obama. The biggest levels of witch hunt prosecutions against whistleblowers was under President Obama. But now you have judges appointed by President Obama putting their imprint on the judiciary, and that imprint is frightening. That imprint is going to a degree that Stalinist courts would have been afraid to have gone. So when you go to the point where you believe the legislative branch can usurp all other branches of government and to invade the privacy of ordinary Americans without any limit or restriction at all, then we're to a place in a position where the president is basically being limited and hamstrung by the people that are supposed to be working for him. Nobody in the executive branch was elected except President Trump. And yet it's all the unelected people who are dictating policy, dictating prosecutorial decisions, dictating investigative decisions. I mean, for example, the Department of Justice should have long ago opened up investigations into big tech. There's the FEC should have opened up investigations into big tech for meddling in elections. Here you have Facebook. We talked earlier about the European elections. Facebook has been meddling in the European elections by having a secret blacklist of people to target, of people to censor, of people to demonetize, of people to deplatform in different ways, sometimes overtly, sometimes subvertly, and they've done it all the way through to try to influence the elections in the UK and Europe.
Wow.
And yet what we have is a Department of Justice, a Federal Elections Commission, a Federal Communications Commission that has done nothing about it. They've done zero. They've done zilch. They've done zunka. They've done nada. And yet, why? And yet we spent 2 years investigating a fake Facebook campaign that was a fake investigation into a few low-level ads by a Russian internet troll company that had zero impact and influence on the election.
You said it. We're coming back in 2 minutes, but this is historic election meddling by the bureaucrats that have parlayed power to the deep state, big tech, for their own enrichment. They have stolen the First Amendment. They are trying to convert us to an authoritarian model with big media, with the universities. And then there's Trump and other nationalists getting elected everywhere. And despite all the oppression, all the censorship, all the tyranny, we're set to see all across the EU anti-globalist, nationalist, being elected. So how do you think they strike back? Well, ask Robert Barnes, constitutional lawyer, these questions on the other side and more. Hour number 3 straight ahead. Infowars.com. Tomorrow's news today. Infowars.com is the shield of the Republic. Everybody knows that supplements are amazing, that what God gave us from Mother Nature is incredible. That's why supplements are the biggest growing industry in the world, and the globalists are so upset. The problem is people forget to take them. And that's why the whole industry has moved towards packets that you take in the morning and you take at night. So we looked at that. We made the very best AM and PM packets out there with an incredible spectrum of 13 different capsules that you take in 2 servings a day that are game-changing AM and PM total health and performance 8-pack power stack at InfoWarsLife.com. Folks, check it out. It's 50% off for a limited time out of the gates. 50% off on the 8-pack power stack. 50% off on our newest product at InfoWarsLife.com, the 8-pack power stack. 50% off. We looked at the best-selling products out there, and we made it even better, and we lowered the price.